Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be breaking down one of the biggest problems I see wholesalers having in their business, and it has nothing to do with acquisitions, dispositions, marketing, anything like that, more of a mindset thing. So if you're new to the channel, I want to welcome you. My name is Josh with Dayrit. I'm the owner of Ignite PPC. We help real estate investors scale their businesses with inbound marketing like PPC, YouTube ads, demand gen ads, etc. And we've scaled investors all the way up to 500K per month with our marketing. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down one of the most important mindset pieces when it comes down to operating and scaling your wholesaling business, especially in today's world in 2026. So let's just dive straight in. So you can see here on the background, we got a little diagram here. I'm just going to break everything down. So this is most of the time how real estate investors are operating. Oh, there we go. How they're operating, right? So how most wholesalers track return on ad spend. Now, if you've been in the business, let's say for 6 months, a year, 2 years, and you're still trying to figure it out, what I see happen, and I went through this myself, is you set a revenue target, right? Let's say you set a revenue target of $100,000 per month, and you're doing everything you can to potentially get there, right? And the problem with this is that as you're in your day-to-day, month-to-month, you are going to have bad months in this business. It's going to be there's going to be months where deals cancel, where deals push and don't reach the closing table. And then you're also going to have monster months that happen. And the issue with this is that when you're newer or you haven't, been in the game long enough, you start to become emotional when you have bad months, right? So let's say January comes and let's say you were actually June was your first month and then January was theoretically the next month. So let's say you go from June 140K a month and then the next month you hit 40K. It's like, okay, cool. You start to panic, right? Ads aren't working. Let's scale the budget back. Maybe fire the agency you're working with, or change your markets, whatever. Like you start to basically reinvent everything, and ultimately, what this leads to is you killing the pipeline, right? And this is a phenomenon that I see over and over and over again. And so the thing here that happens is like, okay, January we have a bad month. We want to freak out, etc. If you freak out in January, and this is assuming that uh, like I didn't even create a graph for this, but if you freak out in January and you change up your whole operation, February and March are probably not going to look like this. February may be okay because you had a pipeline already built, but March definitely not going to look like this. So if you decide to basically in January panic and you do all these things that are negative in your business, you're going to create more of these months for yourself in the long term, right? Versus if you are staying the course, you're tracking your numbers and you're looking at things through a wider view, you're going to have a much higher likelihood of success. And I'll show you that here in a second and what that looks like. So if, again, you've been in the business and you've been in it for a bit, this is something that consistently happens where it's like, hey, ads aren't, you have a bad month, ads aren't working, cut the budget, you start to self-sabotage, right? March, maybe you barely hit the goal, which in this case, like if your goal is 100K a month, you're not going to be you're not going to be upset about it, right? But if your goal was like, let's say, 150K a month and you hit 110, then you're like, hey, is this stuff actually working? Maybe I'm not doing everything perfectly, so on. And this cycle repeats over and over again, right? So as you are in the business long enough, you kind of just realize that, hey, this is part of the game, and we're going to have bad months, we're going to have great months, and so on. And so the important thing here is that when you have these bad months, you don't self-sabotage, because what's going to happen is your reactive decisions are going to destroy your momentum, destroy your pipeline, and you're basically going to be switching to zero over and over and over again, right? So the idea here is that, hey, if you have these months up and down, up and down, up and down, you're still going to hit your goal of 100K per month, which is $600,000 over 6 months. You just can't really see it month to month, right? And again, this is assuming that you don't panic and change everything, because if you are panicking and you are changing everything, I can almost guarantee you're not going to hit your 100K per month goal if that's your goal, right? I've been in business long enough to make these mistakes myself. It's something that I think everybody, as you grow, as you continue to get past certain levels, you realize, hey, we need to be patient. And I'm sharing this so if you're this person who feels like, hey, like we're not getting the traction that we're looking for, how you can change your mindset, right? So here's how, what I'd say like smart real estate investors and wholesalers do when it comes to looking at the numbers in their business and really just kind of shifting their time horizon and perspective over how to look at the operation, right? So in the previous example, we were looking at the business month to month, and here you can see we're looking at it quarterly, right? And so in this case, the goal, instead of it being 100K per month, is $300,000 a quarter. And the reason why this is a much healthier mindset and a perspective to look at your business is because you're going to have these bad months still, right? You're going to have these months where, hey, deals get canceled, deals get pushed, stuff happens. And you're just going to look at these and say, okay, these are data points. So again, if your goal is a $300,000 quarter, aka 100K per month average, if you have a 40K a month, you're not going to necessarily freak out over one bad month because you know, hey, I still have an additional 60 days to make up the ground, right? I want to even challenge you, if you can, to look at this on a biannual basis. So look at this in 6 month windows rather than just 30-day windows, right? So here it's like, hey, our Q1 goal was 300K for the quarter. If you look at this over Q1, cool, it was $100,000 average month. Same thing for Q2 here, right? April 130, May 30K, June 140. Cool, you're still hitting your average 100K month. 6 months total, on target, 100K month average, on target both quarters. And so what essentially changes with this mindset is, again, you have a bad month. It's okay. Your pipeline is still building. Deals are going to close on their timeline. Stuff is going to get pushed, so on. It allows you to evaluate correctly as well. So when you judge return on ad spend over a 30-day period, I mean, even 90 days is not that much data. Really, again, like 6 months is the sweet spot. Like, I'm challenging you guys to shift from 30 days to 90 days, though, in this video, is when you judge return on ad spend on 90 days, you just have a little bit more data, right? So you're not making short-sighted decisions before actually having hard numbers that say this works or doesn't work, right? The third thing out of this is that when you allow things to run and you're not changing every part of your operation every month because you're panicking, you can allow growth to compound, right? This is the game, guys. You basically run ads, you get leads, you track numbers, do that for 90 days and say, hey, okay, based on these numbers, is there any realistic pivot that we need to make, whether it be in our sales process, our contact process, stuff like that. And in the meantime, you just focus on doing the work. You don't need to focus on the outcome when your time horizon is longer, right? So if you set your goal as 100K per month, then it's like, hey, I need to hit this $100,000 per month this month. Well, the thing is that $1 million a year, $1.2 million a year, you could do in half the year, and the other half the year may not be so great, right? But you still get to that result. And obviously, we all want to have the best months possible as frequently as possible. But every business has highs and lows, and for every high, there's a low, and for every low, there's a high, right? So with this, no panic, no resets, no wasted. When I say no wasted spend, I mean no dummy tax. So you're not paying a stupid tax for making short-sighted decisions. You're going to end up with the same revenue, same deals, just different lens and better decisions in this way, right? Now, the one thing I do want to mention about this concept here is a lot of you are like, hey, how do I shift my, thinking from a monthly view to a quarterly view? And that has to do with your financial thermostat and capacity that you personally have. So for example, let's say you are a real estate investor who's been doing $50,000 a month in gross revenue, and your take home on that is 20K, and you have, let's say, 100 grand in the bank, right? So what really needs to be looked at in this business is your financial runway to be able to make good or bad decisions, right? And what I mean by this is, like, let's say you have 100K in the bank and you're spending $30,000 a month in your operation. Well, you're only giving yourself a 3-month runway. So one bad month will feel really painful because you didn't give yourself very much time, right? If you give yourself, let's say, 6 months on that 100K bankroll that you have in the background, hey, one bad month is not going to feel nearly as bad versus when you were spending 30K and you had 3 months runway versus, let's say you're spending, I think in that example, you'd be spending like 15 to 17 over a 6 month runway. It's much healthier. It's going to really change how you run your business and just give you a healthier mindset, feel less stressed. So, important note here is pace yourself for what you can actually afford to do, right? Don't over leverage yourself. If you over leverage yourself, this is where the panic is going to set in. Panic will set in when you're spending too much, when you don't have reserves. When you have the reserves, you can expand your time horizon. You can give yourself time to make mistakes, to develop new processes, to onboard people, to make sure that you can actually long term be in business, right? So I hope you guys got a lot of value out of this video. If you're interested in talking about a marketing plan and you want to see how we would help you basically draw up like what your team would look like, how much you would want to spend, what your runway needs to look like, and ultimately what the numbers would look like to scale your operation, you can book a call below in the description, and either myself or my team member will jump on with you. We'll break down everything that you need to do in terms of lead gen, in terms of acquisition staff, your financial runway, all that, and set up a total roadmap for you guys and run your marketing for you if you'd like. So with that said, take care. I'll see you in the next video.